Hey everybody, it's Professor Snart checking in here for our English 1102 online course. I will at some point do like an actual one of me speaking to you, but especially early on it's kind of more useful, I think, to actually capture our course menu, and so I can actually show you things and talk about things a little bit more directly. So hopefully you've now had a chance to look at what I've called this orientation video here, the very first one I did, kind of walking you through the bigger picture elements of our class in terms of coordinating units and how the due dates work and all of that kind of stuff. So this one's going to be a little bit more specific. So like I said before, clearly it's not scripted. This isn't like a formal lecture thing. And most of what I'm going to say or point to is literally already in our class. So there's nothing really extra necessarily that you're getting, except I think these help to really target your attention and keep you on track. But they are important, I think, to listen to. So again, just sort of like reminders, listen to and watch, obviously. I try to keep them relatively short, but sometimes we just have a lot of stuff that we want to cover. You might also notice that there are certain things like this Our Portfolios link, depending on when you're watching this video, that you'll see on my screen, but you won't necessarily see in your course menu. So there are certain things that are built sort of on the instructor side that I haven't necessarily like rolled out or turned on yet. So if the screens don't look exactly the same, it might be that might be the reason why. All right, so due dates always our sort of first place to go. I'm recording this on Tuesday, October 17th, which is the due date for everything or every major thing in Unit 1, including the orientation quiz that you'll find up here in the README first bit. It's very straightforward, limited point value, but it's kind of good just to set the right tone as we get going. Keeping in mind then that we finish things up here for main posts, kind of main significant work that we're doing, and then anything like our discussion boards that require a reply, you have a couple of extra days to do that. If enough people have finished main work here, though, there's nothing to say that you have to wait until this due date passes to get onto this one. So you could easily have everything finished up by that Tuesday date if enough people have posted and you get in and do the reply part. But then we repeat the same basic format for each of the units we work through. This is definitely not a course that you can just pop in on Tuesday afternoon and figure it all out at the last minute, or if you do, your work will obviously reflect that limited time engagement. And the other thing that you can get into the habit of is once you've finished up here, right, you're doing the reply piece for Unit 1, let's say, but nothing's to stop you from moving ahead into Unit 2 necessarily. So you can almost have like this work and this work overlapping a little bit. You work out a rhythm that's good for you, that works with your schedule, but clearly you need some time on task here because we're looking at a 3-credit course that would meet just in the classroom 3 hours if it were a full 16-week class, right? 3 hours every week, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let's say. Now we're in the 8-week format, which means if this were a face-to-face class, you would be 6 hours in class every week. And that's just classwork. Forget about any kind of homework stuff. So that's a lot of time. So you really need to make that kind of mental calculation then for yourself about, are you investing 6-ish hours in your work for this class? And I bet every unit is not going to take that at all. Some might take a little bit more. And it's not even so much the sheer number of hours you put in, but just making sure that you are timely in getting in, understanding what is required of you, and then leaving yourself enough time to do it so that it's done well. If you do run into technical issues or you need to reach out to me, it's not at the last minute, again, so you're setting yourself up for success. But just in a really basic kind of baseline calculation of the hours involved, just imagine it's a face-to-face class in the 8-week format. That's 6 hours every week, or double the normal 3 that it would be. Anyway, again, you'll find hopefully that you get into a good rhythm of getting things done, keeping in mind the reply portion, but also not just waiting until this is all finished before you even look at this stuff, right? So you're sort of overlapping the units a little bit. All right, so for Unit 1, then, we mostly just did introductions, not really a serious content unit for us. You created your portfolio, which is really important, something that we'll use as a platform or a tool throughout our course. Again, hopefully getting used to the discussion board setup, where we have the discussion board as the tool in Blackboard that we're using, even though there's sort of some text up on the front end, but then most of the assignment is embedded as a document that you can scroll through. These documents are a lot easier for me to create as far as including images, which walk people through different steps. They're easier to edit, so that's the reason for that setup. But just be careful that you kind of understand where each of the pieces of text is existing, and then understanding that to access discussion boards, you're looking for that icon and then clicking the link. Also clicking through the whole of the scrollable document, not thinking that just it ends kind of mid-sentence maybe. And then also looking for further assignment details relating not sort of to the main work that's happening in here, but in this case to like the discussion board reply piece. So again, Unit 1, is this going to take you 6 hours? No, I don't think so. But does it require time on task beyond just at 11 o'clock on the due date, you're jumping in and hopefully everything goes perfectly. So it's good to get into the habit of investing time, even if it's not so required early on, because as we get deeper into the course, you'll find that the time commitment becomes, you know, a little more than early on. All right, speaking of, let's look at Unit 2. So every English 1102 course, not just ours, but every 1102 at COD, whether it's online, face-to-face, 8-week, 12-week, 16-week, no matter the format or delivery mode, they all have the same basic course objectives, right? So anybody who takes 1102 is ideally emerging from that course able to do these various objectives: apply a process approach, develop and support a thesis, apply, etc., etc. All right. So sometimes these are fairly clear and you just sort of understand them. They're pretty basic language. But in other times or other cases, they're not so clear, and it becomes kind of like academic jargon. So if you teach composition like me, you get it because that's a phrase we use. But if you're just an English student, or not even an English student, just a student in English class, they're not necessarily that meaningful. So we want to take a moment and we ironically accomplish some of our objectives in reviewing our objectives, so double ender. We're going to take a moment, or a unit here, to have each of you define our course objectives in language that makes sense to you. Maybe more conversational, maybe a little less formal, maybe using ideas or examples, right, that make it a little more grounded or real world, or you can actually imagine, like, what does this mean like outside of an English class. So we have our usual setup here. We have our Unit 2 discussion board, right? A little bit about the kind of how-to for the assignment. So we're going to use our portfolio space, but you're going to publish that again in a post. To the discussion board, it's just a convenient way for me to collect all of the work people have done. But the assignment is actually in our doc here. All right. So I lay out all the objectives here again. It may, like I say here, seem pretty straightforward. It may not, maybe just a mix of those, right? And what you're going to do is create a new page in your portfolio site, not a whole new website, just a new page. I walk you through how to do that. And then you're going to take 3 of the objectives, doesn't matter which. I would actually choose the ones that make the least sense to you. And then you're going to write, or sort of rewrite the objective where you keep the spirit of the thing. Obviously, we don't want to change the course objectives, but you're going to explain to us in language that makes sense to you, right? And kind of in a more fully developed way than just the short little one-off fragments that we've got. Almost like a translation, right? From academic-y speak into something that makes sense for you. Notice there's other requirements here about providing examples, maybe multiple examples, thinking about something like outside of our course or more in the real world situation. Because again, these are really designed to be objectives that, while they're important for English 1102, English 1102 obviously wants to give you skills that are useful in the real world. Otherwise, we're just in our own little, school bubble here, and it doesn't do much good. Then again, we use the discussion board to post the URL to your portfolio again, but also for you to visit people's work, and then, again, like we've done before, comment on it. So it's really only the one assignment here, so there's not a lot of like text or a whole bunch of different things that you've got to do. But clearly this is going to take more than you could do at the 11th hour on the day of the due date. It's going to take some thinking, some careful selection of what objectives you want to work with, the building of the new page or pages in your site, and then of course reading others and, well, developing your own content, but then reading others and posting something that's meaningful. Okay, so again, right, it's not a lot of stuff to get through, but the nice part in a writing course is that in doing writing about the objectives, we actually accomplish some of the objectives, so it makes it a little bit easier. I will, you might notice this link, it's not available now, but it will be as I collect everyone's portfolio address. I'll post them here in case we ever want to have that list, so it's just easier to access. Okay, so as always, let me know if you're having tech issues or any content issues or questions. I'll try to get back to you right away. And again, hopefully you're feeling comfortable with the course layout, and now you can start developing that habit or that rhythm of using your time effectively. So you're doing work in a timely way, doing the developing like responses to other student work in full, not just a sentence or two. And again, making the course fit your schedule, but blocking time out of your schedule to make sure that you can actually do the course and be successful. All right, that's it for now, and I'll talk with everybody relatively soon.